Example. The retail value added of the last 20 years is the cafe. Now, I'm not talking about standalone cafes. I'm talking about cafes in retail stores. How many different types of retail store can you think of that have a cafe in them today that never had one 20 years ago, right? You find them in car washes, you find them in bookshops, you find them in hardware stores, you find them in car dealerships, they're all over the place, right? There's cafes in these businesses that were never there 20 years ago. Why do they go there? It's a really interesting thing. The first industry to do it in this country was the nursery industry, garden centres. I happen to be doing a bit of speaking in the industry at the time, and I know why they did this in the mid-90s. And it comes down to a really simple concept. You guys are business professionals. Why would you put a cafe in a garden centre? Why do you put a cafe in a garden centre? Please. Okay, that's the first one. Keep people there longer. Anyone in retail will tell you the longer you can keep people in your retail store, the more money they'll spend. Excellent. Second one, why do you put a cafe in a garden centre? Harder to get. Why do you put a cafe in a garden centre? Okay, but it's the type of people, it's certainly to draw people in there, but it's the type of people that they would draw in with a cafe that they tried a lot of other things, nothing worked, right? Cafe went gangbusters for them. Why a cafe? What are the people they're drawing in? Why? This is really important because this applies just as much to your business, and I'm going to bring it back to the broking business shortly. What are the people? Why do you want a cafe as opposed to something else? You're here to work, ladies and gents. We can sit here and chat and look at each other's eyes, please.
I think it's a cosy atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the warmth and coziness can translate into their attitude towards softening them up to buy something.
Okay, you're absolutely in the right direction. The ambience they're trying to create. But I'm looking for the person who wouldn't come to the cafe before that wouldn't come to the nursery before, that will come to the nursery to take advantage of that ambience and atmosphere. And it's critical for us to understand this because this applies to your business. Who are they getting that they didn't get previously by having something as lateral as a cafe? Sorry, it is a meeting, but the type, please understand, I'll tell you if you don't get it, right? But it's the type of people. Absolutely. The non-gardening spouse. That was the problem they had, right? Look, the law of psychology works. Law of opposites attract, right? Someone who loves gardening almost always marries someone who hates gardening, right? It's 50%, it's men and women, it's got nothing to do with it, it's just the world we live in, right? So here's what used to happen in the nursery industry. Husband would wake up Sunday morning going, darling, let's go to the nursery. The wife goes, boring, right? So they put a cafe there. Wife has 2 cappuccinos. The husband spends $600 on plants they don't need. And if it wasn't for the cafe, they wouldn't have made the $600 sale. Now, the wife's happy she's got a coffee. The husband's happy he's got his plants. But the happiest person of all is the franchise owner of the nursery who makes the $600 sale he or she otherwise would not have made if they didn't have the cafe to attract people there. And it took off like wildfire. You might know people who either own or work in businesses, retail businesses, with a cafe in them. If you ask them why they do it, I bet you they don't know. I bet you they're doing it because everybody else is doing it out there, right? But that's the real reason behind it. Trust me, when McDonald's bring out McCafe, it's researched. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to duplicate the research out there. Here's how it applies to you. One of the types of shops that have a cafe in them is bookshops. Almost all bookshops have a cafe. So say you're out with a group of people on a Saturday night and you go to a movie and you come out and you go, well, let's go to a bookshop and have a cup of coffee. Trouble is there's quite a few bookshops in the area, all of which have cafes in them, right? So they go, well, which bookshop shall we go to? And there's always one coffee expert in the crowd who says, I know where they have the best coffee. They've all got books. Now think about this, right? The cafe, or the coffee itself, which used to be the differentiator, value-added service, is actually now the core product differentiator, and the books are the same at every shop, right? So say you happen to own a bookshop with a cafe in it, in the movie district in Melbourne, Sydney, wherever it is there, and you were going to do some local marketing. What would you promote? Coffee. You guys are selling the books. Almost exclusively. You guys are selling the books and not promoting the coffee. You guys are talking about, the best insurance policy, all that sort of stuff there. What's the coffee for you? Your 38 years of experience. The people who in testimony will talk about how you stood by them at claim time. The fact that you give back to the local community and add value and support there. The quality of the customer service of the people you've trained to deal with clients out there in the marketplace. That's the coffee, right? But when I look at advertising and when I see promotions and I look at your websites, I don't see very much of that communicated out there. What we're all virtually saying is, well, we got the cheapest books, or we'll find cheaper books than you can get at the moment, and that's been happening for 30 years now. And the interesting thing is, the coffee, which technically in some cases cost you almost nothing to provide, because you're doing it anyway, it doesn't cost any more to tell people you've got 30 years experience, right? This is the stuff we're not communicating out there. Right? This is the stuff that needs to be communicated out there. Otherwise, the industry becomes a commodity industry. And it's embarrassing that something as emotional as insurance, getting people out of disasters in the most important parts of their life, that's become a commodity, for heaven's sake. But it has become a commodity. And you guys made it a commodity with the way you are communicating out to the marketplace. Now, we cannot change the past, but we can certainly change the future